Hey guys, Studious Toe here, and today I want to talk about Dark Souls, and specifically I want to ask the question, what does Dark Souls say? Now there's a lot of content obviously here on YouTube and elsewhere on the web about Dark Souls, but today I want to talk about something that I don't think has been completely addressed. Now a lot of lore videos tend to get into what is Dark Souls saying, but I think I want to go to a different level, maybe not necessarily deeper, but different about what does Dark Souls say. Now, first, to answer this question, we have to answer a different question, I think. What is Dark Souls? Of course, the obvious answer is to say that Dark Souls is an action RPG and the spiritual successor to Demon's Souls. It's made by FromSoft, and at its core it's a dungeon crawler with precise melee combat. Souls games, though, are an experience all to themselves. FromSoft is frequently criticized and lauded for their intentionally punishing gameplay. These games are notoriously difficult and inaccessible to new players. Most players take several hours just to grasp the basic game mechanics, how the melee system works. It's not an incredibly complex system, but it is a precise system that punishes you for making bad decisions. Most players have to grind through several hours of trial and error just to beat the first few bosses. On my first playthrough, I spent 6 hours trying to beat the gargoyles. But because of this incredible difficulty, Dark Souls is a game rewarding like no other game and no other experience I've ever had. The sense of accomplishment is unheard of in most games, and the player is rewarded more for accomplishment and knowledge than skill. This isn't to say that skill is unnecessary to play Dark Souls. This is just to say that knowledge and the ability to learn from your mistakes is more important than simply pressing buttons at the right moment. That's not a knock on games that are more skill, but it is a testament to how different and how rewarding Dark Souls can be. Now, I don't think I'm saying anything particularly new or revolutionary yet, but I think it's important that we're on the same page, that you understand where I'm coming from before we go any further. And to go further, I think we have to ask another question. What is Dark Souls about? Well, most players have a pretty limited knowledge of the game, especially after just 1 or 2 playthroughs. My friends and I used to joke that Dark Souls is about nothing. It's simply for the combat. But much like the gameplay, Dark Souls forces you to earn its rich lore. And to some degree, the player has to create their own story. Dark Souls doesn't tell us too much, especially about our character. We're told that we're the chosen undead and not much else. Even that isn't confirmed. It's debatable. We don't know if we really are a chosen undead or if we're just being manipulated by the primordial serpents. The game's opening cinematic tells us about the Age of Ancients. We learn of fire, which leads to disparity, heat, cold, life, death, light, and dark. We learn of Nito, the Witch of Izalith, Gwyn, the Furtive Pygmy, the dragons, which are now extinct, the dark sign, Embers. But we're not told too much about them, or how they connect to the player. The player starts in the Undead Asylum, and we're not really sure how any of that connects to this video we've just seen. Now, I just brushed over a lot of major lore points, and if you're not too familiar with that, go on YouTube and watch videos. There are a ton of great videos from people who know a lot more about the lore than I do. Of course, there's always Marcus, epic name bro, Mr. Dark Souls himself. There's a German spy, Vadi, Dave Klein, just to name a few. I know I'm leaving out so many great YouTubers for Dark Souls lore, so if you're curious about more, it might be beneficial before you go any further to just look up some lore. There's so much to know and so much is left up to interpretation that no one really has a full grasp of the lore. Even FromSoft has left things purposefully ambiguous, so there are many things that will never have a definitive answer, only speculation. Now at this point I'm assuming you at least have a basic understanding of the lore of Dark Souls, and so I want to talk about what that says. and what Dark Souls says through its lore, through the story. Dark Souls is built around souls. Souls are everything within the game. They are currency, they're how we level up. And humanity, which is shards of the Dark Soul, is how we access online play. Souls are crucial. It's in the name of the game, so I don't think that should be too surprising to anyone. But the Dark Soul is the Dark Soul, and it is humanity. Now, what does that say about humanity, that it is, by definition, dark? And we learn through the additional content in the DLC that humanity can cause some to go crazy. But without humanity, one goes hollow, loses their mind, their sanity. They lose their reason for existence, their motivation to do anything. Dark Souls 2 tells us that our souls and our memories are who we are. Without our souls, without our memories, we go hollow. My friend Neo Theo and I have talked about this, and he has a theory that when you go to the character creation screen in Dark Souls 2, you are literally making up who you are. You start with no souls and virtually no equipment. You have no idea who you were in a previous life, and you're just choosing who you want to be. The game asks you, are you sure? And after all, how could you know? You're as hollowed as the game will allow you to be at this point. Now, I'm going to try not to talk too much about Dark Souls 2 because it's so new and there's so much we don't know in the community yet about it. But I think it's definitely a point worth discussing, especially as it relates to humanity and souls in the original Dark Souls. Now, from a lore perspective, I think one of the most interesting bosses in the game is the Bed of Chaos. Now, Bed of Chaos, everyone hates the Bed of Chaos, and even FromSoft has apologized for it. It was a cool idea, I guess, but the boss fight itself isn't so wonderful. But I think it has something amazing to say. Now, the Witch of Izalith was one of the first 4 who found the Lord Souls, along with Nito, Gwyn, and the Furtive Pygmy. So easily forgotten. The Witch of Izalith is the godmother of pyromancy, the one who gives us this unclean art, this forsaken thing that society doesn't accept. And as she grows more confident with what she's doing, with creating these flames, she tries to recreate the first flame, this source of power and this beacon. Fire and flames is a huge part of Dark Souls, and I think in much the same way, water is a huge part of Dark Souls 2. That's just a working theory. That might change as we learn more about the lore. That's what I'm guessing at this point, but that's off topic. But in the witch's pursuit, she creates the Bed of Chaos, this source from which all demons spring. It's even in the name that this is the source of chaos. And I think this says something profound about creative types, about people who do creative things. Filmmakers, musicians, visual artists, dancers. We can assume that the Witch of Izalith had such an immense and deep understanding of flame, which is why she thought she could recreate the first flame. To be the best at your craft, at art, you have to understand it to a level that takes a lot of the magic out of it. I know personally, as a musician, that after practicing something for so many hours, it loses its mystery, and eventually you lose the human element by overexposure and by understanding on a technical level what you are doing. That's why for some people, learning about music theory or learning more about any form of art and how it's made and what goes into it is both intimidating from a technical perspective, but also potentially could remove the mystery and the magic and the humanity of what makes art art. And going a little further in this, art should be an expression of humanity, and humanity should be an expression of emotion. And I know specifically with musicians, we have to do things so many times over and over that we have to take out our humanity. We have to remove our emotion to do something perfect thousands of times over. It's easy to point out a filmmaker like Woody Allen, who is so incredibly prolific, but seems to, on a personal human level, have something missing. But because of that, he is able to be prolific. In much the same way, the Bed of Chaos is a testament to that. The Witch of Izalith sacrifices so much and is tortured and produces this bed of chaos, this source of unspeakable evil and terrible things by trying to create. She sacrifices herself, and furthermore, her experiments and her creation has disastrous effects on her family. We see Quelaag and the Fair Lady are both her daughters, and they are both severely deformed. There is another Daughter of Chaos waiting outside the fog gate for the Bed of Chaos, who is perhaps hollowed and is left defending her mother's work, despite its disastrous results. Ceaseless Discharge, her infant son, is turned into this incredible and monstrous beast. He is tortured beyond measure, essentially because of her failings. And Quelana, who is not directly touched by this chaos, is left trying to clean up the mess. To me, this is the most powerful and the most meaningful section of Dark Souls lore. And I think it gets us the closest to what I think Dark Souls says. Now, there's, of course, the cynical view of humanity as this thing that drives one crazy, but also is the thing keeping it from becoming hollow. This is in much the same light as the Darkstalkers, the primordial serpents. Regardless of what the player chooses, regardless of whether choosing to kindle the fire, to throw themselves into the flame, or to end the Age of Fire and send humanity into a new dark age, the player is being manipulated by Kath and Frampt. Perhaps Dark Souls is simply saying that there's just no way to win with humanity. There will always be a terrible end. Indeed, this is further represented by Siegmeyer, one of my favorite, if not my favorite, NPCs in the game. His quest line is difficult to find, let alone complete. In fact, I don't think I've ever actually completed it. I think I've usually just looked up lore videos to find out about it. Anyways, regardless of what you do, Siegmeyer will die and go hollow. He carries the dark sign and he is undead and he is hollowing. Now, Vaati has a great video on this that I think I'm going to try and link somewhere around here that you should definitely watch if you haven't already. And he talks about how by aiding Siegmeyer, you are taking some of his honor away, and eventually that's part of what kills him. If you help him, and even if you keep him alive to the very end, he dies and he goes completely hollow because he has lost his honor, one of the few things he values. Regardless of the choices the player makes, Siegmeyer will die. He will go hollow. This can be seen as a commentary on choices, in the fact that there are many opportunities within the game to make choices that ultimately matter very little to the end result. All paths lead to Gwyn, and Gwyn gives you two choices. Either way, you are serving Frampt. The decision becomes whether or not to sacrifice yourself to continue the fire, to take Gwyn's place, or to become the Dark Lord and put an end to the fire, which is the source of heat and life and light. The player has two choices, and neither of them are his or her own. The player can choose to be this chosen undead and cast themselves into the fire, but the game tells us that this is only a temporary solution, and eventually the flames will fade and only dark will remain. Perhaps Dark Souls is telling us that this is the fate of humanity, that regardless of our choices, regardless of our actions, eventually the flames, the source of heat, life, and light will fade, and what will be left will be dark, death, cold, and disparity. And even throughout the world itself, there is so much anguish and so much disparity that it's difficult to imagine what removing the source of essentially hope would mean. This is something that I don't think many books or films ever really get into, things that we go to for this sort of discussion. And it's much more remarkable to find it in a video game that on the surface seems to not even have a story. This is something that on a philosophical level, video games have over music, books, TV, movies, dance, visual art. Games have perhaps the most potential to say something so complex and deep as we see in Dark Souls. Dark Souls questions the value of human free will and whether those choices even matter. Dark Souls tells us about the toll creativity can have on the creator to those of us who try and play God. And Dark Souls suggests that no matter what we do and no matter how hard we try to prevent it, we eventually will all go hollow. The flames will fade, and only dark will remain. But I don't think it's fair to present Dark Souls in this way without examining the things that make it beautiful. Even in this disparaged world, there are moments of incredible beauty. And these don't even take into account the incredible sense of progress and accomplishment provided when players find victory, when they see that you defeated or victory achieved sign. Miyazaki, the director of Dark Souls, talks about in the design of the Undead Dragon trying not to create something that was intentionally gross, or at least gross and disgusting for the sake of being gross and disgusting, but instead trying to imagine a creature that is tormented by being undead and being left to rot. You see, Dark Souls isn't dark for the sake of darkness. Dark Souls' darkness is saying something. It's saying that even in this totally despairing, terrible world, that there is still accomplishment and there's still progress. There's still something worth believing in, worth working towards. Even amidst all this corruption, all this greed, all this cynicism, and all this manipulation, there is still something worth having. It's commentary on humanity, this abstract idea. It's something we can't live without, but can ultimately cause our doom. Perhaps it cries for balance and compromise in a world where extremes lead to hollowing, or worse. It suggests that though noble knights have fallen and are no longer living up to their former glory, the player can slay them and take their place and ease their burden. Gwyn, who is the game's final boss and is this father and this corrupted ruler, is willing to sacrifice himself in an ultimate selfless act to preserve the fire, something we need. Dark Souls tells us that we can overcome our failures, our shortcomings, and save what is worth saving. This is something that frankly most other video games never even imagine touching, and that's fine. Not all art has to touch the same thing. And yes, video games can definitely be art. There are many who disagree with this, but I think when you have an experience like Dark Souls, it's hard to argue against it. Of course, some video games really aren't art, and that's okay. Not everything has to be. Much in the same way that every film isn't Citizen Kane and isn't necessarily trying to say something, it's just entertainment. That's not a problem. But I think it is a problem when we have this much potential and video games can say so much, and they choose to say nothing at all, and Dark Souls says something. And in this video, I think I'm only scratching the surface of what we can interpret from Dark Souls. And of course, a lot of this is just my interpretations and what Dark Souls says to me, and this will be different for everyone. There's so much of the lore and so much of the story that I haven't even begun to touch in this video that I think can be equally profound and equally meaningful just by looking at it and letting it touch us. So, as I see it, Dark Souls is a complex and nuanced look at humanity packaged within an amazing action RPG. Like everything in this world, it of course has its flaws, and there are many of them, and I'd be happy to point them out, but at the same time, the core experience is so incredible and has so much power just beneath the surface. So if we're willing to dig a little deeper, we might find something else that makes us want to dig to the core of what Dark Souls is. And I know for a fact that we will never truly understand Dark Souls to its fullest potential, but that doesn't mean we can't try. So this has just been how Dark Souls speaks to me and what Dark Souls says to me. If you have thoughts on this, feel free to share them in the comments. This game has so much to it, and even though it's 3 years old now and we're already onto its sequel, I think we'll be coming back to this game for years as a shining golden example of the depths to which video games can reach. If you enjoyed what you saw, feel free to leave a like, I really appreciate it. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. Once Dark Souls 2 is out on PC, I will definitely have some more Dark Souls 2 content, and I'll probably continue to make Dark Souls content from time to time. Check me out on Twitch once it's out on PC. I probably won't be streaming too much until then, because I love Dark Souls 2 and I'm playing the heck out of it on Xbox. If you want to see more videos like this and Dark Souls content, be sure to subscribe. I'm Studious Toe, thanks for watching.
Fancy meeting you here. You did much for me up above. I am grateful. You know, I was thinking the gate, the old fortress. Is that your doing? Yes, I knew it. It seemed like an unlikely coincidence. Well, am I fortunate? This light of Katarina thanks you sincerely. Please, take this as a token of my gratitude.